Video podcast.
Oh, as in like you started. Hey.
Video podcast. It's the COVID edition of the podcast.
COVID podcast.
Bro, we've been doing this type of podcast for years. This is our bread and butter by now.
This is it. This is regular thing.
It's just a regular thing. That's a story. I have a story.
It's fast. All right.
Wow.
My friend was in this screenwriting class, right? And then they had to like get together in like a group project, read each other's scripts and like give feedback on it. And the script that they got, first of all, was like 20 pages. I still don't really know what it was about. The first page, all it is the guy sleeping in his bed, and then a girl walks up to him, and he's like kind of like sleeping and like dreaming still, and then she like gets up to his ear and is all like, do I make you hard? And like starts like groping him, and then it's like, man, this is a really intense way to start this script, huh? So she's all like, yeah, do I make you hard, daddy? And then he's like,
excuse me?
Go on.
He wakes up and he's like, oh, Yolanda, what the hell? It was his fucking sister. That's the script. And then it was really funny because afterwards the whole thing is like, oh, why would you do that? That's so gross. And she's like, I'm fucking with you and everything. And then they had to get together. So we're all reading this like together, and we're like, what the fuck?
What the hell?
And then they had to like get together in a group with that person and like give feedback on that script. So everyone in the group was just like, yeah, it's just that incest part in the beginning was a little weird. Like, you got to admit. And then she was just someone who just like wouldn't back down. She was just like, no, because it's just like she's like messing with him. She's just like, they're just like siblings, and they're just like, they mess with each other all the time. And it was funny because every time, because they just like kept pushing it. I feel like they were like in on it, just like trying to be like, see how far they could push her, because they just be like, yeah, but like, is it really necessary to be? And every time she would end up just be like, it's a sibling thing. It's,
Is she from like Alabama? Is she from Alabama?
No.
She's from Maryland.
Oh no.
She's from Maryland, Anna.
No, she's
I
black.
love how if she was from Alabama, we'd all be like, oh, okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
No,
What's up, guys?
Anyway.
It's been a while.
That's why I was just like, it's I didn't know what I said at the beginning. I went, it's a whatever thing, and I was like, that reminds me.
We said ain't nothing but a thing. So when you went like, do I make you hard, daddy? I was like, how the fuck does this have to do with what we said?
It's just funny because every time she would just end, it's just like, no, because like it's just a sibling thing,
It's weird because she wrote that, and it's like, usually, like, a lot of times people write a script and have, like, themselves in mind, like, they imagine themselves in the character. So she wrote a script, and it was like, it would be like if I wrote a script and I was the character who's whispering in someone's ear saying that. Yeah. It's like,
I hope you don't really have this thing.
I remember one of the first assignments that we had in my screenwriting class was to write down natural conversation that you overhear from people, like...
Yeah.
Yeah. And somebody put the most savage conversation between two people I've ever heard of. Like, these people talking about how hard they get whenever they watch porn. And, like, it was, like, crazy shit. And she fucking said it out loud. It's just she that wrote this. And she literally would, like, say in class, like, okay, this gets, like, really crazy. If you need me to stop, like, just tell me. Because, like, this is, like...
Why not just, like, write something different? I've never understood why it's just, like... There's been times where people have just been like, oh, don't show this one. It's really gross and, like, graphic and whatever. I'm like, why'd you fucking make it?
True.
Goddamn. So, Robby, how's it going? It's been a while since we've had you in these videos.
What's up, bud?
Robby's here.
Timeline-wise, even though...
Robby!
The All of Us Together podcast was released very recently, but in reality, we filmed that 2.5 years ago. So
yeah,
wow, that was 2.5 years ago. That's how long ago the summer trip was.
Yes,
that's
crazy.
That's crazy to me because like that trip, like I always felt like was like semi-recent, like in every memory I had.
Yeah,
but like really coming to terms with it now, like especially like looking at like old footage and stuff like that we've been posting, but like it's a while ago.
Come on, you have to know what you did there.
Posting.
You all,
Okay.
I don't know why, but I feel like in all those videos, and it's not even like that I was going through anything or that I wasn't having a fun time, but can you fucking find like many moments in that trip where I was smiling? Like in the final shot of season 2, I'm sitting there like,
And that was half of you. That's like my biggest complaint. I like wish we just redid that shot because I had no idea half of you just like stood like you're on the cover of a rap album, just like.
I was smiling.
I was
Yeah,
doing
I
my
was smiling.
Wu-Tang Clan cover.
I'm pretty
I
sure
don't-
Nathan was smiling more than half of you.
I don't think I smiled. No.
I
No,
thought
you
I was
didn't
just like,
smile.
No, Connor smiled.
Well, I
Yeah.
straight up looked upset. Like I straight
yeah,
up looked like
yeah.
pissed off.
Yeah, you're. Just
I
like,
don't think I did like a full on cheese and smile. I think I was just straight up just like
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
I'm
like, like a regular smile.
whatever. It's our
Well,
rap.
a lot has
Whatever-
happened
whatever,
in the
fuck
last
it, season
2.5
2 doesn't matter.
years,
Yeah,
man.
what's been up, Robbie? What has been up since the trip? Because I
I
feel
don't,
like
I don't really remember, man. I don't really remember.
I don't remember.
No.
Would that be your concussions?
Yeah. Would that be because of concussednesses?
That
Yeah,
is a
concussedness in this
segue.
I
Speaking
sort
of
of
concussions,
talked
Robbie.
about this. I sort of talked this a little bit with the guys before, but I can't really go in depth with a whole lot of this.
We're the
But
guys.
But there are
We are the
two.
guys.
There are two stories in particular that I do want to get into because it's just so fucking funny. So the first one happened, I want to say like August of 2019.
Damn. All right.
This isn't the first concussion. I believe it's either my second or third.
So my guess is it's all wrestling related.
Yes,
That-
yeah.
that's
A
the
majority
natural-
of this is wrestling related, yeah.
Major-
Because
Not
all right.
Xbox?
Not
well,
chorus?
there was one. There was one.
So are
There
we
was one
just
yet
ruling
at a
out
young
porn?
age. There was one at a young age that I thought, probably was a concussion. I
Oh,
fell
okay.
off the top. I fell off the top bunk, nose dived straight into my forehead.
Oh.
That seems like a concussion.
Oh my god.
Did it
Yeah.
hurt?
I don't
That
remember.
was not Xbox
Yeah, it's a
related.
concussion.
I straight up don't remember. You can't really tell, but there should be like a white
That's your
line.
okay. Yeah, I thought
Yeah,
you
I
put it on
can
your
not
nose. So
tell.
it's like that's not your forehead, dude.
You can't really tell, but I have a nose.
There's a white line of where my
You can't
stitches
really
were that
tell.
night because there was so much bleeding that night. But
Whatever.
that happened at age 4, and at age
You can't
19.
really tell why.
Damn.
Come on.
At age 19, fucking I'm wrestling at my first ever show, and it was called the Belltown Block Party.
This is August 2019.
Yeah. So this was
Got it.
August last year. The Belltown Block Party was this big event in Seattle where this like whole like 5 to 10 blocks of Seattle was just closed down, and there were tattoo
COVID.
parlors, venues. There was this awesome skate ramp. There were like music performers, and then in the
Just
middle of
one?
it all, smack dab in the middle, I said performers, multiple, motherfucker.
No, I meant the skate
Camden.
ramp. I meant the
I'm
skate
sorry,
ramp,
Camden.
not- it's
Have
not
you had
like
a
park.
concussion? Did you forget that this is
Oh.
Robbie's story?
No. I'm just
Yeah,
pointing
fuck,
out
man.
inconsistencies.
Keep it going, Robbie.
And then right smack dab in the middle was a tiny little ring. And I never wrestled on a show. I've never wrestled in front of a crowd before. And the guys were just like, yeah, we'll go to the back. And the back in this case was a rundown, abandoned Mexican restaurant. And our dressing room was the kitchen. And I just sat down. I changed out of my clothes. I got all ready to go. And I didn't know that I was going out for a match until 5 minutes before. They didn't tell me the plan. They didn't tell me anything like that. And then when I went out there, it was pretty much all like laid out beforehand as much as I could. And then it was like an okay match. Me and him, we were training together, so we knew each other's work up to that point. And I won that match. And then the story leading forward was it was like a tournament for the night. So I was like, oh, so I'm gonna get like another singles match, and I'm gonna go into it. No. They took everybody except for 2 people and put them all into a 4 corners tag team match. And essentially in that, you can tag in and out no matter who you want. You just want to score the pin or submission. That match, I'm wrestling with guys that I've never even met before. I met that night when we got to the Mexican restaurant. And when I'm going into the ring, I'm like, I don't know who half of these people are. I just hope I'm safe. I wasn't. I was thrown around like Timbuktu, man. I was just like, I landed on my head a good 4 or 5 times. My girlfriend at the time is sitting front row, and she's just bawling her eyes out because she could tell like I have glassy eyes, like I'm fucked.
Oh shit!
And and it gets to the point to where like I start hearing chants for me, so I like jump back up. I start throwing some strikes, and then I miss one, turn around, and then I'm just like picked up sideways, like horizontally, so I'm fully horizontal, and then I'm thrown over this guy's head, and I just land directly on my neck. It was bad. It was bad. As soon as that happened, I scurried around, and then I tagged somebody, and I went out. Maybe like 2 or 3 minutes go by, they tag me back in.
What?
Dude, it's just a neck. Do you really need that?
Yo, you good? Where the fuck am I? Get in there.
Strikes back and forth as much as I can up until the guys who are meant to be the good guys in the match, they trap my arms behind my back, and then they like rub their hands together. One of the tag team members rub their hands together, raise their hands as high as they can, and just bring them both down as hard as they can on my chest. And oh my god,
they're trying to like defibrillate your fucking heart, or like
it's pretty hot.
So after that landing on my neck part that I mentioned, after that point it's a little glossy. I do remember I was the one who took the final move, and luckily enough it's called a brain buster.
Oh wow.
So
Dude,
instead of a normal
lucky.
flex, I'm supposed to be dropped on like the upper part of my back. And that one went off with that hitch. It felt fine. And then the bell rang, and then I roll out, and then I hear the chants go back to high school to me. And I was like, that sucked. That sucked. And then I went to the back, and all the other guys that I've never met before were like complimenting me. They were like, "Oh, you did great out there, kid. I didn't know you just
like a champ.
I can't believe
you fell down so good."
But yeah, no, it was so bad that night that eventually I had met up with my girlfriend at the time again, and my 2 friends who had also showed up, and I was walking with them outside of the Mexican restaurant as we were getting ready to go, and I'm like wavering side to side, like favoring one leg over the other, trying to find the medical assistant on hand, and 5 minutes after we leave the restaurant, I'm like, where's the nurse? What's going on? All 3 of my friends that came, they were all like, oh, we passed her by like 20 minutes ago. And I was like, I don't remember any of that. I don't remember any of that. So my friend Jordan, thank God for Jordan, she drove me home that night, and her partner drove my girlfriend home that night as well. So we were able to get home pretty safely. But man, I was up for another 6 or 7 hours. I could not sleep with the concussion that I had. Eventually, with some essential oils and calming down, I was able to come back down and then go back to work at 4 a.m.
Wow.
Oh
so what's it like having a concussion? Is it like sort of similar to like really fucking drunk where you just like aren't aware of things?
No. So
no. All right.
The way that I can like
dude, idiot, what the fuck is wrong with you, dumb moron?
I gotta give myself
talk.
Now.
Shut the fuck up and let him talk.
Jesus Christ. The thing that I can like it to most is like you ran around in a circle 50 times, and then you jumped and you landed on your back another 10 times. Imagine the whirlwind and whiplash that you can have in your mind, and then try and think straight and look forward without blinking 20 times within the past 15 seconds.
All right.
I thought you were going to be like,
Damn.
run around in a circle 50 times, then jump and land on your head and get a concussion. And that's
Yeah. That's how you could tell.
Yeah, no, it was really, really rough. Like I had like been worried about going to bed because I know a lot of head trauma, and then trying to sleep, you could like just straight up not wake up.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've heard people with concussions, it's like you're not supposed to go to sleep.
If you experience a lot of head trauma within one night, you need to stay up for, I believe, at least an hour or two after the trauma happens, and then you can like possibly go to sleep if you're feeling okay. And thankfully, I made it out okay. Nothing was too wrong. I stayed out of the ring for about a month or two. I came back and I was just fine.
Nice.
Fast forward to, this is December. I'll say this is like around September.
COVID yet?
September of 2020.
Oh, we're in COVID.
Yes,
Oh.
we are.
Oh, yeah.
We are in COVID.
We are, but how about this story?
Up north, and I had been going there pretty regularly, and I'd been progressing pretty well. One of the trainers was working on a certain move called the Tiger Driver, where essentially you have. I'm going to try and visually represent this as much as I can.
Jesus.
You have their
Okay,
head,
another-
crotch, and their arms are up. Their arms are up, so their arms are trapped and their head is trapped.
Yeah.
And you lift them up, and then you just sit down. And the point of it is you bring your head forward and you just land on your upper back. I was going to take the move on a crash pad. I was going to take it on like a flat surface that was cushiony enough to where like, oh yeah, I could take that 100 times. It's not like the hard ring floor.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we went up to take the move, I stood too close to the crash pad to where when he lifted me up, I knocked it away. And then I panicked. And then I believe, I don't know if he did, but I'm pretty sure he panicked as well. And then I just went straight onto the back of my head.
Oh.
It was rough. It was rough. I heard like 10 gasps right away, like, oh shit. Oh,
That's always the worst when like people watched you get hurt and you're like did you like feel it, or was it like a second where you're like, wait, I think I got hit?
So here's the thing. As everyone knows, I am Samoan. Samoans' heads are thick as brick, dude. It is tough. Like I've taken like kendo sticks and chair shots to the head, and it just bounces off, and then for like maybe a couple of seconds it like still stings, but I can get back to it. So when I landed on my head that time, I had recognized that I landed there. I had let myself stay still for a little while, and then I slowly like started to roll my fingers, squeeze my hand, make sure I saw movement there, and then go from there. Because I don't know if you know, but like from the direct behind, like the direct back of your head is right where your vertebrae start. And if I shattered one of those and need a disc up there, I'm done for. One wrong movement, like somebody hitting my bumper, like a fucking like just a love tap could knock me out of place, and I could be paralyzed for life. Just shit like that can happen like on a dime.
Wrestling's fun.
As soon as I know I can move again and I'm all okay, I'm like, okay, yeah. And then the pain starts to sear in. I'm like, yeah, that shit fucking sucked. Can I get some ice, please? And they got ice right away.
Can I get some ice, please?
Can I get some ice, please?
And the funniest
Jack
thing was, I came in that morning.
Jack and Coke.
The funniest thing is I came in that morning at like 10 a.m. and I had to go to work at 5 p.m. later that night.
Oh fuck!
Oh my god!
You can't give I got a fucking concussion letter, or like.
No, not in COVID.
You can't. Wow. So they really.
Or it's either COVID or bust.
It's a pandemic. I'm barely alive.
I have a concussion.
I almost died.
Yeah, man. But like, honestly, like I don't want to go too far into it, like I said, because I don't want to reveal too much about wrestling. I'm still new to it. I'm still learning. But When they say don't do it at home, don't do it at home. Oh my God.
That's fucking crazy, man.
Wow. That's crazy that you're like fine overall. Like,
so what's the total number you have of concussions?
Currently, I believe the number is either 4 or 5.
That's like 4 or 5 more than me.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's like a certain amount you can get before you're not allowed to like do sports anymore. I don't know what it's like.
I remember there was a pro wrestler by the name of Chris Benoit. He is most notoriously known for committing a double murder suicide in 2007.
Oh, I thought the most concussions.
He's most notoriously known for being a criminal.
It's like
So,
he's like a murderer and stuff, but like he was like super cool.
He was so
he got a lot of concussions. Come on, feel bad.
He was so concussed to the gills that he had suffocated his 7-year-old son and murdered his wife and then committed suicide.
What the fuck?
I don't want to go too far into how he committed suicide.
I feel a little bad now because I thought that a double murder suicide was like a wrestling term. And
I thought that was like a move.
That's what he was famous for. So I was all like, oh, fucking this guy, double murder suicide, And I was just like, that's a crazy ass name. Why the fuck would they? And then it was funny as you were saying that I was like, isn't that like a real thing too?
Like, I'm gonna pull the double murder suicide move on him.
Dude, don't do it to him.
I mean,
don't do it.
Yeah, no.
It happened in Midsummer. So
he was one of the best to ever do it until that happened, and now we just never talk.
Concussions.
But the autopsy on his, I believe the autopsy on his brain had seen like 80 to 100 concussions, if not more.
I didn't even know it was that. I thought it was like
10. Like he had the brain.
I thought it was like 15 was like the most that someone could get.
I don't know if 80 or 100 is the right number, but I know that like the brain was like the brain of an 85-year-old, and he was only 37.
Dang.
That's a lot older.
Well, that'll tell you, kids. Don't hit your head.
Don't hit your head.
So I remember there's like a friend I had on my football team, and he had, I think it was 5 concussions, and then he was like, yeah, my doctor said if I get another one, then like you're not allowed to play football. Not just like a him thing, but just like anyone, if they get 6, it's like that's it.
One of my roommates like had like 2 concussions because of soccer, and he's like super like cautious of like anytime anybody like even like touches his head, he's like, dude, like I can't like mess with that because it's like I would be done, like I can't play like sports anymore. So like that's crazy.
Have you two, Connor and Camden, have you guys ever had concussions before from playing sports and shit?
No, I never have.
No, I mean like I've gotten whopped, but I haven't gotten a concussion. No.
You whopped?
Yeah, I've been like
you wet ass.
Not familiar.
I like wet ass pussied a few people. It was pretty dope.
I mean, I stepped on a Lego piece, but that's all.
like in lacrosse, like I've been told, like a defender completely like laid me out and like trucked me over, but like I haven't gotten a full ass concussion. I've been like knocked over and like slammed, but like nothing to that level. No.
There was one time where I was it was during practice. It was my freshman year, and I went in for a tackle, but like you're supposed to tackle with your head up, but I had my head low, so it kind of goes like on your neck, and so I had my head low, my neck felt weird, and I just like fell back, and I was just like, oh, it like really hurts, and then so they were just being cautious. I probably could have just like taken my helmet off and just like gone over to the bench and like sat for the rest of the time, but they were just like, no, just stay there, it's a neck thing, we don't want to mess with that. And then so they had like called my parents and everything, and they called an ambulance, and like they put me on a gurney.
Oh, Jesus fuck!
Driving an ambulance to the hospital.
Hang on, so you hurt your neck a bit, and they put you on a gurney, but Robby never got jack shit for his hella fucking concussions?
No, nothing. Straight up.
It was cool.
I guess the difference is you were an adult and you were 14, but still.
Yeah, but I went to the hospital, and it was cool because this part wasn't cool, but they ripped my helmet off, I remember that was really bad. I was like, my neck hurts really bad, and they have to like yank a helmet off, and the helmets are really tight.
Yep.
And then instead of like lifting the shoulder pads over me, they were like, we'll just like cut the jersey in half and like unsew it or something, and then like take it off like that. So I have a jersey, I have a practice jersey in my room now. That's just like it's like cut in half, and like that's pretty cool.
Fucking badass over here.
The thing that I wonder is between, and this is a kind of comment question of the day, and all four of you guys can also answer it. Between the two things from our childhoods that caused us most pain, whether it be the Razor scooter hitting our shins or stepping on a Lego piece, which one hurts more?
I definitely say the Razor scooter.
The Razor scooter,
that would just like pain like all throughout your body. Where like the Lego piece was, I never understood it because I never like got seriously hurt by like stepping on a Lego piece or something. I'd just be like, ow, fuck.
I'd probably say the Razor scooter, dude. The Razor scooter, bro.
I was never a Razor scooter guy. I was just.
You don't like. All right.
The only thing I have is I just had like really rough diarrhea a few times where I just kind of thought I was gonna die. Here's the thing for me, because I'm not spiritual at all. But god damn it, every now and then when I have those really rough shits, I just start praying. That's the only thing that will get me to pray. I'll be on the toilet and I'll be like, hey God, it's me.
Hey God.
It's been a few years. God.
Dude,
really
Razor scooters,
your help, man. It's like game over, bro.
It doesn't even need to be a Razor scooter, but like literally like metal hitting your shin may just be the most painful shit you can ever endure. Like as a kid, you're like, you get hit by like some sort of metal like scooter, some shit. You're just like, I will die now and I'll be happy because like that shit fucking hurts. Like there's nothing you could do about it.
Or the classic of getting punched or kicked in your nuts, which I'm sure happened to all of us.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I just remember there was one where like it happened and I legitimately was like, I think my testicles exploded. I think they're gone. I think that was it. I'm done.
There was a guy I knew, like, who was a few years older than me in high school, and he lost a nut because he had
Oh my God.
He was a lacrosse goalie, and the ball just like hit him, and it was just like it's like Alan.
He really busted a nut.
Yeah, it was really. So, what's everyone's worst nut story?
Oh my God.
There was this one kid.
There was this one time I had to sit through my sister's Nutcracker performance, and it was really boring.
Funny name.
There was this one time I was watching this crazy movie, and I was like, "This is nuts."
Oh man. Oh, but yeah, no, this is late night number 29, guys.
29.
Done 29 of these.
29.
So anyone got some weird hot takes that they don't think should be a hot take?
Well, I wanted to quickly go back to what Chris was saying about the diarrhea thing.
Okay,
because,
fuck me then. Whatever.
No, just really quick. There was one
this
thing
somehow, Camden.
I don't think I ever told this story on the late night, but did I ever tell you guys about how one time when I was really young, one of my childhood friends came over to my house and he took a crap so big he started crying? I literally heard him in the other room, and he was like, "I'm having a baby," and like, I'm like 10 years old, and I'm just like, "What the fuck is this guy doing?" And like, but I love the fact that he was like screaming in pain. He's like, "Ah!"
What hour was that at?
I don't know. I think it was probably like 4 p.m. Something around there.
Wow! So everybody was awake.
Everyone was awake, having to endure it, and like I remember my mom like had to like take everything. She was like, "All right, like."
That's the worst, dude. Because at 4 p.m., if you're stuck in the bathroom, you feel like you're missing out on shit. Like if you're sleeping at 11, you're like, nothing's going on. It's okay.
I'm sure it wasn't
4,
like
it's God damn it, this is like my day.
And I'm sure it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it wasn't like this in the moment, but in my memory, I swear I remember it being immediate. Like he just walked into my house and took the shit. Like
I'm here to do my business. Stand back, heathen.
Oh my
But anyway,
god.
hot
takes.
Hot takes. Who's
Hot
got
takes.
some? Who's got hot takes?
Who's got hot takes?
Uh,
Oh, am I gonna start this off?
If you got something,
You got a hot take, spit it.
The Star Wars sequels are okay.
No.
That's
Yo,
a
we never
hot take.
did a Rise of Skywalker review. Let's give a quick answer.
And Robbie, and there's a reason why we didn't do a Skywalker review. Because you know what? The sequels are garbage. Okay?
Connor woke the fuck
you know,
up.
I'll be on Robbie's side because
They're
They're not.
I don't think
great, but they're okay.
I don't think they're worse than the prequels.
No,
Here's
God,
my,
no.
okay,
God,
no. Here's my thing. Okay, let me say my piece. As an avid Star Wars fan, and as a human, I will, and as a filmmaker, I will look at this as multiple things. One, sequels are just way better made, straight up in every aspect of filmmaking. The sequels are just better made than the prequels. Fucking George Lucas doesn't know how to write. There's just tons of things wrong in terms of like actual filmmaking. Mm-hmm. However, these Star Wars prequels storyline is just a pile of dog shit. Never will never change my mind about that.
The prequel or the sequels?
The sequels.
The sequels. Okay.
The
You
sequels,
said the prequels.
pile of dog shit for multiple reasons. Not only like the director changes fucks that up, and I don't necessarily fault that to one or the other. I just think that there was a lack of vision going from start to end, which you need to have.
Lack of vision disturb. Damn it, that's not. Move on.
If you have a trilogy that you're making,
one in there somewhere. There's a vision quote.
If you have a trilogy that you're making, you need to know what the beginning is. You need to know what the end is. They had no idea. They kind of just made it up as they went. So it just turned out dog shit. They just literally, for the last movie, they're like, okay, how do we finish this? That's stupid. At least with the prequels.
You have paid the price for your lack of vision. Emperor Palpatine said that in Return of the Jedi. Continue.
Cool. At least with the prequels, George Lucas knows, or at least he knew. He's like, all right, this is where I'm going. I'm going to do this. I got to hit this. I got to hit this. Fuck off, like if he's not good at making movies. I personally can look aside that. I know it fucking goes against my filmmaking fucking mindset. Mm-hmm. However, I love the story of Star Wars so much. It's just one of my favorite stories. I love that universe that I can put that aside just for the fact that I love the story. And I think the era of the prequels is so awesome where it's not like the bad guys are in control. Just love all that shit. Mm-hmm. However, when you go fast forward to the sequels, right? They're fine movies. Like at the end of the day, I always shit on the Last Jedi. I was like, man, this movie sucks in every which way of the word. I started watching a lot of Rian Johnson's movies to see like, okay, you know what? He's actually a pretty goddamn good director. Looper,
he is,
fucking
definitely.
Fantastic. Knives Out, goddamn amazing. However, he applied what he's good at into something where it's like he should have been following a structure anyway. I'm fine with him adding his own things. I don't necessarily disagree with him adding new ideas into a universe that's already created. My main problem is the fact that he tried to like retcon what was already set up and try and make his own thing when he knew when it's like you're not like they weren't like on the same page, right? No. It was a different director transitioning to a different director. What realistically should have happened was there should have been a plan mapped out from beginning to end from episode 7 to episode 9. They should have known where they started and where they were going to end. There's so many plot inconsistencies and so many story like inaccuracies or at least story doesn't make no sense that like watching the sequels 7 to 9, it's just like, sure, they're fine movies. I don't have a problem with them like in terms of like a technical standpoint. My whole problem is just like story-wise, they just like kind of just contradict itself from movie to movie and just make no sense. And
beyond
like,
that,
beyond that, I just have a lot of problems story-wise.
Beyond that, it's also just like, what is Rey's character? I mean, can you think a single time in all 3 of these films where she was ever contested or she was ever losing? Who is this character at the end of the day? Like, she's She's an orphan scavenger that we've already seen that. We've seen that a couple of times. We've seen that with Anakin. We saw that with Luke. But like, there's really no deciding, or there's no like distinguishable quality with her. You know, she's just essentially perfect the whole time, and she knows how to shock people with lightning now in Episode 9, even though nobody could have taught her that. Like,
yeah. So
I
would
want
you
to see
at
that
least-
guy do a rewrite of the sequels. I feel like he'd do really
What,
well.
belated media?
related media?
Yeah.
you probably will.
So you can at least like kind of fairly summarize that the sequels are better movies, but you kind of just prefer the prequels. Like,
Yeah,
personally.
I would say that. I would
So
say
you
that
could have
this
just
is-
like not wasted our time.
Sure, but I would love to have a conversation about it instead of being a fucking bitch. Okay.
Well, no.
Listen.
No, I was just paraphrasing what Chris said. Chris's words.
No, I
Yeah,
mean,
no, but seriously, I think.
But no, like
I think
that's the point.
prequels-
Like you can say
Yeah.
you like something more than another thing, but admit that that thing you don't like as much is just better. Like
Well-
we all have guilty pleasures where it's like I like this even though I know it's not actually that good.
Sure. Well, here I don't see. That's the thing. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, I don't think just because something is technically good makes it good overall. I think story is a huge part of movies, and
It is, but in my opinion though, the story of the prequels is still dog shit.
Yeah, like it has some
yeah,
problems still.
well,
I mean,
and
I
that's the-
think the biggest thing the prequels has going on for it is like the world building, and that's not, you can't really just lump
Here's the
that
thing.
with story.
sure,
the world
sure.
building and the payoff. The last movie is the best one, and then when you get to the sequel trilogy, the last one's the worst one. If Rise of Skywalker was
The
decent,
purpose.
if Rise of Skywalker is decent, people wouldn't hate the sequels as much. It's the
It's
fact that
interesting.
Rise of Skywalker
I don't know,
just
because
like
they already hated The Last Jedi.
no, they hated
People-
the Last Jedi. But if listen, if Rise of Skywalker was like actually like great, then we would be having a different story. Like a lot of it rode on, all right, how do they end it? And Rise of Skywalker sucks. Meanwhile, the prequels, when the Phantom Menace came out, people didn't like it. People thought it was boring, and everyone hated Jar Jar, and it was like, what the fuck is this? There's a little kid, this is dumb. Attack of the Clones, still a good amount of criticism for the cringy romance. Anakin is really bad, but it's like, all right, at least there's a little bit more stuff. Obi-Wan's doing stuff. And then Revenge of the Sith, people liked that a lot. And there was really cool payoff. It's still not a good story and poorly told, but the end goal was still really
Yeah,
cool.
that's
Sure,
what
I can
with-
agree with the poorly
Yeah.
told aspect. My thing is just like I personally, and like I'm not saying that everybody has to. I personally can overlook the problems in terms of like a filmmaking aspect where like the romance shit, dog shit. The acting from Hayden Christensen, he's bad in everything, right? The writing from George Lucas, really bad.
Mhm.
However, and look, I don't go to bat for this on anything. I literally never go to bat for this on any other franchise other than this, because I believe that story, or at least like the downfall of the Republic, the downfall of the Jedi, the way that like the bad guys win, I find that so interesting, and I feel like that's so fleshed out. And sure, those movies, and I kind of attribute this to a couple things, right? So sure, it's the movies are the base plate, right? But you have the Clone Wars TV show. You have the Clone Wars, like the animated Samurai Jack show. You have all the like the books and stuff, right? You have all of that like story built into that.
There's lots
Whereas
of
Right.
if the prequel movies themselves were on par with the original trilogy in terms of actual filmmaking prowess, no, I firmly believe that would be considered the best trilogy, because I think that story is so interesting, and I think that world building and all those characters are so interesting. Not only to me, I just feel like that there's so much there. Whereas in the original trilogy, sure, you have a very narrow, like the rebellion taking down the Empire, right? Like that's a very one-dimensional story. Not that I don't love it. Obviously, the original trilogy is the best. I'm not arguing that. What I'm saying is, the universe expands with the prequels, whereas where there's a republic, like the good guys are in power, right? There's so much more expansion to be had there. And I think that is something that I think gets overlooked when you look at it, because obviously there's a difference between good movies and good stories. And I think the story is there, whether or not it was told perfectly or whether or not it was told with perfect accuracy. I think that the story was there for me to carry it into, like, you know what, I enjoy this enough, whether you consider it a guilty pleasure or not. I think I can enjoy a story more so than where I'm looking at the sequels, right? Those movies are fine. Like I was saying, like I love J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams has made a lot of shit that I love. Rian Johnson, I've looked into a lot of his filmography past The Last Jedi because that was the first Rian Johnson movie I saw. I love his movies. The problem is the story isn't there. And I think the story is a huge part of movies at the end of the day. You can be technically proficient, but the story is what's going to carry it at the end of the day. And the story for me is perfect enough in terms of the prequels that I can overlook shitty filmmaking just for that. And that's the only thing. I would never, like, I don't say that about anything else. I love stories and other things that have shitty movies. Trust me. Like, there's tons of shitty franchises out there, but I can overlook it for that. And that's the only franchise I do it for. Seriously.
What I find really interesting is the fact that the original trilogy's best film is Empire, the second one.
Yes.
Prequel's best film is the last one, Revenge of the Sith. And the sequel's best film is the first one, The Force Awakens. I think that's really interesting. I think overall, I would argue that The Last Jedi is better, but that's just me. But overall, general public, I feel like consider the Force Awakens the better movie.
My thing is,
sequel or each trilogy has its own best movie at a different position within the franchise.
The reason I believe for that original trilogy, you have Star Wars, which was just its own thing. There maybe were kernels of ideas for future stuff, but the idea of Darth Vader being Luke's father, Luke and Leia being brother and sister, not a thing at all. That stuff wasn't decided until much later. So you have Star Wars, which is its own classic, amazing thing. But then you have, oh God, we got to make a sequel, which sequels still aren't really a thing yet. It's 1980, big blockbuster sequel. Okay, let's do it. You know, that's why they didn't even call it Star Wars episode whatever. It was like, let's just call it The Empire Strikes Back. People know. And you have that. You have Lawrence Kasdan, who was George Lucas's teacher or mentor. And so you got a guy who knows George Lucas and is just kind of better in every way. Knowledgeable and expands this universe that had a lot to it, but didn't need to set up a lot of stuff. But you have the sequel that just decides to go deeper and bigger and better. And then you have the last one, which just kind of falls apart because they didn't it was George Lucas' money, really, because he just wanted to make money. And include Ewoks.
I want to see a David Lynch Return of the Jedi.
So that's why weird. That's why the second one's best with that one. Prequel trilogy, Phantom Menace is sort of useless, honestly. To me, it does not set up Anakin as a character really at all. You learn nothing about Obi-Wan. Qui-Gon means nothing after the first one. Darth Maul, not in the rest of it. So it's like, what the fuck was even the point of the first one? And you have the third one being the best one because that was the whole point. Everyone knew where we were headed. It's going to be cool. Then with the sequel trilogy, all of it banked on that first one. They were start right out of the gate. We're going to do a sequel trilogy. We don't really know where we're headed, but we know how to set up shit. And J.J. Abrams is really good at setting up questions. He's just not good at answering them usually. He usually falls apart. And that's why the first one kind of is considered the best one because you have all the setup there. It's all right there. It's like, yes, we got all these questions. And it's also the fact that it was a breath of fresh air after the prequels because after the prequels, everyone went, we know the mistakes we made or that George Lucas made. We're not going to make that. And so I remember seeing it in theaters. Force Awakens was such a magical experience because I was like, every complaint I had about the prequels is being solved in this. I'm so happy. And then they slowly fell apart because they didn't know where they were going.
My thing with the prequels versus the sequels is that the sequels are definitely better made films, but like the prequels on paper had a purpose of, okay, we want to tell the story about how Anakin Skywalker went to Darth Vader. And that is like, it was just horribly executed. But
the thing on paper, cool. That's all it goes deep into. Right. So I'll let you go. But like the great thing about the prequels is like one line. And it's more than that, not much.
What I'm saying is if you were to, let's say, remake the prequels, which, I bet someday they will do.
Yeah.
Like someday they'll remake it and they'll make it great. But like, if you were to remake it, I think that the purpose of that trilogy is going to be more looked back on as something that people are going to be like having more fond memories of. And with the sequel trilogy, it was very much clear that they just didn't really know what they were doing and they were kind of just winging it as they went. Like Like the Luke's like perfect examples. Last Jedi begins with Luke throwing his fucking lightsaber off the rock and right behind his shoulder. But like, really, what was the point of that? Like, this is a guy who has not seen this lightsaber in years and years and years. He thought that this thing was gone forever, and he's gonna look at this and not be even slightly curious. Like, in what, all for a cheap laugh?
I mean,
you can have that
you're gonna
same
nitpick something
effective
from Last
move.
Jedi. That's a bad one, I think.
You can have that same effective move for Luke's character rather than him throwing it over his shoulder. He can still not take it from Rey, have it in his hand for maybe 10 seconds, drop it, and then storm off. Get away from me. I don't want any of this.
He stands there holding it, looks at her, walks up to her, hands back to her, and just walks away. It's the same thing. It's like, yo, so what?
I think this is a small. I think
that's a small nitpick to go at.
That's a small part, but
that's the first time.
But I'm also saying, like, these other options, they're just as stupid. Anything would have been stupid. The idea is that he also wanted him to seem stupid, and he's kind of like a Yoda now, and he's like that is some shit he would do. I don't see a problem with that.
The Last Jedi's biggest problem is that it doesn't respect what came before it. Rian Johnson wanted to do something completely different. He didn't want to go with the safe bet because Looper is a mind-driven movie. Knives Out is a mind-driven movie. He's always trying to fuck with you and just like, yo, this is new, this is fresh. And you can't really do that when you're doing a sequel, especially a direct sequel.
With established lore.
Anyway. And the problem also is like, all right, fine. You want to make it so that all this setup didn't matter. Snoke doesn't matter. Rey's parents don't matter. All the shit doesn't matter. But then also, and I don't know if it was his fault or fucking the studio, but they decided to make it comedic as well. Where, it's fine for Luke to not want to train her. That's fine. But it's the fact that it's like, he threw the lightsaber, get it? And it's like, what? Like, it just feels like he's disrespecting the power behind something. He's basically telling you what you cared about doesn't matter, and that's why people don't like it.
I see. Here's the thing: when, like, what you were saying, Camden, like, I understand what you're saying. Like, with something that's good on paper, that's a straight line. That's fine. My thing is, if you come into, and I have mad respect for Rian Johnson now after looking at some of his films. Like, I respect him a lot as a filmmaker. So, like, at the beginning, that was the first movie I saw by him. So I'm like, wow, fuck this guy. Fucking ruined one of my favorite things more so than it already was, right? Go into his filmography. No, he's actually really smart. The problem is he tried to inject what he thought was good into something that's already established, and that you can't do that. Now, also, another problem I had was George Lucas had the originals, the prequels, and the sequels. He had that like all mapped out, whatever that means, from the beginning, right? They completely threw that out. If you're gonna make something with something that's so established, there's hundreds of books, hundreds of comics, there's tons of shows, tons of movies about something. You gotta follow what's set up and more so what's kind of given to you. Sure, add what you want. I don't have a problem with adding new stuff. Like, there's tons of shit that's in the prequels that was not in the original trilogy because they added stuff that enhanced the lore, right? You can enhance the lore, but you can't change the premise. And that's what they tried to do with the sequels, and that's my biggest problem. Nobody's going to argue, especially if you're a filmmaker, that those movies are more well made. I think that when you look at it as like a story standpoint, because for Star Wars, for me, is a story first kind of series, right? Because at the end of the day, Star Wars is so fucked up now. There's so much shit with it that it's like you got to look at it story first. And for me, the story of the prequels is more of not a perfect story, but a more interesting story than the sequels. Because one, they just had no idea what they were doing. They kind of just made it up as they were going. I don't have a problem with adding new stuff, with trying to do stuff that you didn't expect, right? Because if they did what we were expecting to do the whole time, we're like, oh, Luke's gonna come and train her and all that shit, like, then it would have been boring, right? I'm fine with doing new stuff. My thing is, if you're gonna do something completely new and kind of just say everything that came before is meaningless, that doesn't really make any sense with a very, very one of the most established franchises.
Also, the middle movie of a trilogy.
That too. That too. And that's no shade on, and I have completely taken my shade off of Rian Johnson. I don't blame him anymore. I mainly blame Disney at this point. It became their cash cow where Walking Dead became AMC's cash cow. It's sort of like that. And
I think Ryan should have done Force Awakens.
Sure.
It should.
No,
that should
yeah,
have been
I definitely think his
for sure.
trilogy would have been way better than a
Sure.
JJ
Yeah,
trilogy.
I agree.
And
I
I would even argue that if he stayed and did episode 9, it would be better than if JJ did all 3.
Yeah,
Because,
I-
mean,
Well,
the
I mean,
thing-
there's
the
also a
thing
matter
about
of like,
JJ
there's also a matter of like studio infringement and like changing upon the movies.
I think
Because
Yeah, but
I'm pretty sure that.
is that he's,
Well, I mean,
he's
how long?
only about like building stuff up. He's
How
not
long
about
has
like
how long has Rise of Skywalker been out now? Like,
a year.
A year. This is December, so.
wouldn't mind a minor spoiler, right?
No, I mean,
No.
Oh, you
wait,
haven't seen it by now. You don't care.
Or okay.
no, he's just saying he
No, I'm
wants to
saying
say
like
It's for the audience.
like
yeah.
the kiss between Rey and Kylo, like that wasn't supposed to be in the final cut at all, and that somehow made it in there. So
I love the
yeah,
irony.
Disney certainly put
That's the thing.
like
It's so
the
much
the
like
thing about JJ is that he also like even if you don't want to even if there wasn't like producing stuff that kind of fucked it over too, he is someone that just like does not know how to finish stuff, and I don't think it would have been finished well. I mean the idea that like Rey is like a Palpatine, that was still like his, I guess like he was like, sure, why not? And I like the idea that like she's no one more, and I like the ideas that Rian Johnson set up more than I liked what J.J. Abrams set up, because what he set up was nothing fucking new. He was like, I'm gonna make a really safe Force Awakens, and then I guess see where it goes from there. I'm gonna have to do something, man. And Rian Johnson came up with answers of what it could be, and I liked those answers more than what they ended up doing. And they kind of just said like, I don't like that you changed it at all, and then so therefore we're doing the opposite of what you think. She's a Palpatine.
Yeah,
That's dumb. I disagree though that JJ that you prefer. I forget exactly what you said. You're basically saying that JJ did nothing new with Force Awakens. It was just a safe bet. I disagree. I think Rey, yes, she's not a very original character. Poe, on the other hand, or not Poe, Finn. Fuck, that just goes to show how much I care about these.
Finn was good.
Finn was an interesting new character, and Last Jedi did him dirty. They
definitely did abandon him.
He has a full character arc in Force Awakens that is like, oh shit, this is cool, and there's still so much room to grow. And then he's completely thrown away for Last Jedi and also for Rise of Skywalker. He's thrown away. He's got nothing to fucking do. Kylo Ren, also a very intriguing, kind of different character in Force Awakens. It's always been the Sith are really scary and terrible, and they're going to fuck you up, and they're bad. Kylo Ren was kind of a baby bitch, and that was cool. Like, he was intimidating, but then slowly you're like, wait, this guy's kind of a cuck. And that was interesting. And then Last Jedi had some interesting stuff with him, but it was like complicated. It was like, okay, what? And then it just kind of threw it all away, where it was like, I feel like this could work, but then like, no, he's just a bad guy again. He's in charge again. It's like, what the fuck? And then Rise of Skywalker, they're like, he turns good, and then they kiss. But like, to me, there was interesting stuff set up in Force Awakens. Not with everything, but there was some interesting original stuff there.
Yeah, I think my problem is that he abandoned the setup completely. It was like I really do think that you could have followed through, even if you wanted to get this whole idea of, oh, anybody can be a Jedi, anybody can do this, Rey can still be nobody, but like, was there anything stopping Finn from having a better story arc in The Last Jedi? Was there anything really?
Finn, to me, because I don't get why we haven't gotten this yet. Finn would have been the perfect character to be the first, I guess, gray Jedi or whatever. Basically, a person who's Force sensitive and a Jedi or whatever, but who isn't Sith or Jedi. I'm always sick of how it's always either you're the goodest character ever, or, oh, you've turned to the dark side. Now you're evil and you want to take over the universe. That doesn't make sense to me. That is one of the biggest problems with Anakin's turn to the dark side. It's like, I get it's fine for him to turn to the dark side, but it's weird. He's just an asshole from the beginning. And then it's like, I want to save Padme, so now I worship you and I will murder children. It makes no fucking sense. With Finn, it was like he was always kind of this middle ground character. And to me, that would have been interesting. And by the end, he's like, I'm not really a Jedi, but I'm definitely not a Sith. But like, I think this, dude.
I think if you boil it down to it, and this was like, I remember seeing this all over the place. It's like with the sequels, it's like there's no reason for this to happen, for this to happen, for this to happen. And sure, for like adding new stuff, it's like, oh, like, why does this person have this power? What's the reason for that? Some of the stuff, it's like, yeah, you don't need a reason. They're just fucking Jedi. They can do that. We just haven't seen that in the
You
lore,
don't need to be a part of a bloodline to have the Force.
Sure, that's fine. My problem is, in terms of like an integral story, why is this happening? Why is this happening? Why is this like? There needs to legitimately be a reason why something's going to happen in terms of like a legit, like an actual beginning, middle, end story.
Yeah,
and there was
payoff.
There was just a lack of that in the sequels. And wherein is as in like the prequels. And I love the belated media like rewrite thing where it's like at the end of the day, the beginning, middle, end is still there. It's Anakin. He's being raised up into the Jedi Order. There's the flaw in the Jedi Order. That's because the Jedis have been there forever. They try to like make you get rid of attachment. And he's like, well, I mean, like I want to have attachment, whatever. Yeah. So he falls to the dark side because of that. That's a great ass idea. And there's a reason for all of that. Executed poorly, whatever, we can get into that. That's not a problem. That's not what I'm arguing. There's a reason for it. Whereas in the sequels, it's like, okay, so in The Force Awakens, you're setting up why Rey is this way. Okay, she might have some family there, whatever. Finn might be this, whatever. You set that up that there's a reason, but then you flip it, and it's not even like you're flipping it to be not what you expect. You're flipping it to say, oh, there is no reason. That's the problem. If that was what it was from the beginning, no problem, but that's not what it was. So if there's going to be something that's set up and then you flip it on its head to say, oh, there's no reason, that's kind of just a slap to the face almost, where it's like, okay,
Robbie's
well
been
then
to talk.
Why am I even invested? Okay, Robbie, your turn. Go for it.
Thank you for noticing. I just wanted to point out we've been talking for like a little bit over an hour now, so I would like to
hot take
transition.
question.
Damn, I didn't even
It
want to
was
talk
one
about
hot
Star
take
Wars.
that I did not think was gonna take us that long.
At the end of the
My
day,
hot take
Star
is I
Wars
didn't
is
like-
fucked. That's the end of the day.
The irony, studio
Go watch,
interference
go watch-
ruined sequel trilogy, and the lack of studio interference helped ruin the prequels.
Yes.
Go watch. Go
we
watch
done?
go watch
Are we not gonna talk about
Mandalorian.
anything else? Well, we talked about movies.
The Mandalorian is cool. I like the Mandalorian.
Also, watch
Watch Clone Wars. Go watch other Star Wars media that
battle
isn't.
as well.
Fargo season
Yeah,
4
we
is really
spent
good.
this-
Check it out.
Spent this
I wanted-
fucking
before we
podcast
get
talking about
into-
Star Wars. My hot take was I don't get sprinkles. That's all. That's all that was.
Before we end tonight, I wanted to briefly bring up music. Any music you guys have been listening to,
All right.
whatever, dippity doo dah, yay.
The Star Wars theme.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of John Williams composed things.
I
I'm
have
listening
gotten
to a Star Wars podcast.
C418's Minecraft soundtrack.
Oh God, I've gotten through the first 5 Beatles albums now.
Nice.
Hey, you're
Oh,
like
yeah.
me 6 months ago.
Yep. So far, bar none, Help is the best one so far. There's no question.
Same
Help
pick.
is the most.
That's a pretty good pick, honestly.
Yeah.
Yo, what would you say is your favorite Beatles song right now?
Ooh.
I mean, you just have pop shit, so it's really similar regardless.
So
Man, there's a lot of more fucking
Like-
pop shit that's fucking coming your fucking way.
aside from like all of the ones that I know that I haven't heard in the albums yet, from what I've listened to in the albums front to back as many times as I have, I think my favorite is still going to be Yesterday. It's such a beautiful song,
That's
so
probably my
simple.
favorite of all time.
and it's just gorgeous. I love it.
Yo,
That's
Yesterday's
probably my
second
favorite too.
Yeah.
And that was always
Fuck
my
that
favorite
movie, though.
before I really listened to the Beatles. For some reason, I've just seen a face. The one that comes right before it, recorded on the same day, both Paul McCartney songs. That's my favorite song. I fucking love that song. I don't know why.
That song is really fire.
It's like one of the lower ones. Like I'd never heard of it before. You know, it's not a hugely widely known
Yeah.
one, but that is my favorite one. I fucking love it. So
Yeah,
Help,
no,
like,
the
bangers there.
Yeah, the general advancement of the Beatles over the course of the first 5 albums is kind of insane, because the first 2 albums are kind of the same.
Yep.
Kind of the same. And then the third one they try something new, the fourth one they try something really new, and then the fifth one they just go for it. Like they go
fifth one
for
is
a
when
new
they
sound,
found it.
and it's
Well,
really
I mean, you'll see
I
more.
think most
so, Robbie.
people actually think that the fourth one is a more back to basics thing, not a new thing.
And I would argue it's not.
Because the thing is that like those 3 albums are the poppy, like there's some covers, most of it's our stuff,
Yeah.
but A Hard Day's Night, the 3rd album, is when they were like, we're gonna like make a whole album ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was and then I think that's why a lot of people like don't like Beatles for Sale as much, is because the 4th album, because it was kind of like, it's like, dude, we just like made an album, and you're like, oh, dope. And then it was like, but now back to what we did before. It was like, wait, but oh, you were growing.
And I disagree, because every time I listen to that album, number one, just sound quality wise, it just sounds better than Hard Day's Night. I don't know if that's just the versions that I got or whatever, but like it just sounds more crisp. It doesn't sound like old. But also, Beatles for Sale is a lot more darker in tone. They actually sing about more just depressing shit. You got No Reply as the first one, which is about finding out that your girl's cheating on you. And then the second song is just called I'm a Loser. Like, they get into more darker territory throughout that. And before that, it was really just, hey, I love this girl. Everything's kind of great. So even though, yeah, the 3rd album is the first time everything was original, the original stuff that they wrote still just kind of sounds like the covers that they were doing before. And yeah, there are covers in Beatles for Sale, which is like, all right, that's a little bit of a bummer. But the stuff that they have in there, other than the covers, which isn't much, is definitely different in tone and a little different in style. That's why I like Beatles for Sale a lot.
For some reason, I just never come back to it. And if the one song I do come back to from it is I'll Follow the Sun, because it's like that song is just so fucking fire. And like, and I do like 8 days a week. Don't get me wrong.
8 dicks.
Like, 8 dicks a week.
I like 8 dicks.
That's my album.
Did you?
So, yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, like the thing with the Beatles, it's like, I'm sure like you haven't got through all of them, Robbie, but like that's what's so great about them, and everybody says this, is just like they have something for everybody, because they are probably like arguably the most evolutionary band in terms of like where they started to where they ended up. Like they just changed so much. Like they have so many.
I thought you were gonna be like, kind of a hot take here, but I think they're the most influential band ever. Gonna say
no, like I'm saying like they change so much from front to end, but they do it in a way where it's like everything is good. Whereas most bands and most artists, when they try to change or they try to switch genres, and I don't know why I thought of this as an example, but Taylor Swift, she kind of went from country to like pop. She did that well. That's the only thing I can think of off the top of my head. Fuck it, it doesn't matter.
And now she's been in like rap a bit, and it's like,
whatever.
Well, I think people don't like that.
Sure, but like what I'm saying is like the main thing the point I'm trying to make is
the prequels.
The prequels are better. All right, don't at me. No, but the Beatles have like gone through such a change through all of their albums, where it's like I realistically wouldn't fault you for liking any one of their albums over another. Although I personally think that there's some are better than others, but they went through phases that I think that are all like super cool, and I love to see. I love listening through it front to back, where it's just like you can really see how there are different genres within one band, and the progression. I just love that so much. I think that's what's so interesting about the Beatles.
What was your guys' first Beatles album that you like listened to front to back?
Sgt. Pepper.
Same here. The way I listened to Sgt. Pepper was really interesting, actually, because I think I was really young when I found my dad has like this really big CD collection, and I randomly found like the first one in the stack, and it said it was the Sgt. Pepper album cover, and I was like, yo, what's this? This cover's awesome. And he goes, that's Sgt. Pepper. I own it on CD. I'm like, oh, well, why do you own this on CD and not like I don't know. Like this was like the age of digital music. Like,
Spotify.
This was like the age of digital music's kind of like starting to get there. I was like, oh, so you own this on CD? He goes, yeah, I do, because it's awesome. And I later on, years later, I took it from the pile and then put it on, and I was like, whoa, this
Do you
is sick.
feel like part of the reason the Beatles were able to grow and never have like a downfall, even though they changed over time so much, is that they're one of the few bands that really never tried to do something just because their audience wanted it? Because I feel like everything they did because they wanted to. They rarely let outside influence change the way that they wanted to make their music.
They literally stopped touring.
I mean, I think all the greats do that. I don't think any of the greats like pandered too much.
Well, I mean, it's not even pandering. It's just like, how do you not end up letting out when you become so big and it's all about money eventually, and you have so many voices yelling at you, producers, this and this? How do you not let that eventually seep into your work a bit?
They were so ridiculously popular that I don't think that mattered.
But I don't even.
I guess the thing also is just that they were not I feel like they are one of the few people that were always just like, I'm actually like a genius and I'm in to like make like the best music I can, and I honestly think this is like good music, not just like what people want to hear kind of thing. And especially between Paul and John, they just had like the two opposite ends of the spectrum of just genius level.
Well, Chris also brings up a really interesting point, though, because you even look at it in the case of like Weezer, for example, with the Blue album, and then just the overnight success and being in the spotlight. And then, Pinkerton, released right after, is the very opposite of pandering. Like, literally, they decided to go out on a limb and make...
That's the Last Jedi.
They made the most raw, like, depressing fucking magnum opus they could, and it was completely shat on upon release.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe not shat on, but mixed reviews for sure.
Yeah, and then Green Album came in, and it was nice and safe.
I think that just is a problem with, like, music as it is.
Or just success in general.
Yeah. I think that's just a problem with music. I don't think that's necessarily like an artist thing. I think it's really like popularity always skews what the public perception always is going to be.
And it builds your ego too.
Sure. And
when everyone tells you you're amazing, suddenly you don't question yourself anymore. You don't think, maybe I can make this better. You think it's already the best. I'm perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah, they were one of the few people that were just like, I don't think they ever felt that way. They were just like, I just want to keep getting better.
Yeah.
And also, they always had a view of their music where they didn't see it as masterpieces either. Like, I love hearing the way Paul and John, especially John, talked about, like, when they would record stuff. He's talking about it like it's just some random bullshit. He's like, I recorded day in the life. It's like, all right, we kind of get this out of the way. And it's like, dude, what you're talking about is, like, legendary, and you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So
they're great.
So
that's the fucking Beatles.
Any other hot topics to take up a half hour?
That is about
Bro,
I want to say an hour and a half, maybe.
It's an hour and 6 minutes.
Hour and 6 minutes. I was way overshooting, but
sprinkles are the stupidest thing, bro.
But this is cool. I hope this video thing works, because this is easy.
I hope it does too. I really hope it does too.
Yeah.
It's chill.
You can do more of these.
Yeah.
Fucking face.
At the end of the day, I think next episode probably going to be the trip down memory lane and discussing like behind the scenes info of season 2 and all that stuff that everybody wants to know, all that juicy info that everyone wants to know. But
if we do more of these, realistically, we can talk about shit forever. I mean, I literally going into this, none of us thought we were going to talk about Star Wars, and that's what this podcast became. So,
yeah, I know.
Robby, it's good. Robbie, you're good, like bringing in a topic. That helps.
Yeah. So
Star
Wars
do a lot. Better go.
I gotta start using this fucking thing, my little boom arm here, because my arm's getting tired, man.
Or it's just like, I've been going for 20 minutes, new topic.
I gotta
can we make a pact?
Check, man, because I like Camden noticed I was like every now and again whenever someone was like finishing up their topic about the sequels or the original trilogy or whatever it may be about Star Wars, I was like, oh no, I guess everyone's gonna keep talking
Camden,
about
what's your pact?
Okay.
What's my pact? Can we never talk about Star Wars again?
Yeah.
Not on a podcast. I think we're
not even the good ones. I like don't give a shit.
Yeah, we're done with Star Wars on podcasts.
I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
That was also like the biggest reason I didn't care enough to do like an episode 9. Even before episode 9 came out, I was just like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. Before the movie came out, I was like, I don't care. I've seen all these at midnight release. This one, I'm not. I don't care.
We saw trailers of episode 9, and some people were like, "It's so bad, bro." I'm just like, I don't even fucking care.
Yeah. It's like there's a problem. I think that's just the problem with just like oversaturation, and that's another thing we can get into on another day.
The future.
We're not getting back into this shit.
I would rather spend
not
more
if we make this pact. So
I would rather spend more time discussing something that we all like and want to further and like get deep into than rip something to pieces and waste editing time and like all that sort of stuff. So
I agree.
Anywho,
this was a good podcast. We talked about a lot of shit.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff. Episode 29, pretty good. Leave your thoughts.
That's our review.
Is that the newest
below.
Star Wars episode?
Any new ideas for a late night? Post it in the comments of a thread that I posted on the late night or the Deep Sheep subreddit.
Sprinkles
Is there
or
any
no
topics,
sprinkles? What do you
especially
think?
related topics? If you want us to talk about something that we've done in the past, whether it was a film that we made or a trip or whatever the fuck.
How many of us like sprinkles?
Candy's really on the
Apparently
sprinkles
doesn't.
thing, guys. He's really on the sprinkles thing.
All right,
I'm
y'all.
all about them rainbow sprinkles, though.
This was terrific.
That shit fire.
Connor, Spencer, Camden, Chris, Robbie. We will see you guys in the next late night.
Forever.
Peace. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.